So let's talk a little bit about May-Thurner syndrome. This condition was described many years ago, and until recently, we haven't had a really good, effective way of diagnosing it. Now we can diagnose it with ultrasound. Essentially, what May-Thurner syndrome is an iliac vein compression syndrome. What does that mean? That means that the vein that structurally lays on top of a bone can be pinched by an artery. So let me show you what that looks like. In this picture, red signifies the arteries and blue signifies the veins. And what we're looking at is how the vein on this side, and this is the left side of the body, comes across and underneath the artery that's coming in this direction. The points of compression can happen here, as well as here and here. The end result is that as the vein is compressed, the flow that's coming up from the legs can actually be impaired. And so we just don't get the necessary flow that we need. The end result, you can have swelling, tiredness, heaviness, restless legs, the concern that your legs feel like lead, sometimes the inability to walk because your legs get fatigued, and sometimes the inability to stand or sit for prolonged periods of time because you feel like your thighs are just very tight. So we talked about May-Thurner syndrome, and I mentioned that it's a iliac vein compression syndrome. We mentioned that it can be diagnosed with an ultrasound, but that gives us an idea that that's what's happening, and that perhaps that condition is responsible for your leg swelling, or your restless legs, or your legs feeling like lead, or feeling tired and heavy. So now we're going to talk a little bit about a venogram. And again, a venogram is a picture of your veins. What we do with a venogram is that we place a small catheter inside of your vein, and then we take a picture. We use a special contrast solution that mixes in with your blood to create a picture as evidence as shown by the images here. So let me talk a little bit about what this image is showing. Over here, this is the normal part of the vein, and you can see that there's a smooth contour to the vein, very nice. The contrast material fills it appropriately. As the vein moves from lowering the leg towards your belly button, which is the point of compression, we can start to see that the vein begins to taper, starts to narrow. And in this area, where the contrast doesn't seem to fill as much of the vein as it does here, we almost see like the vein begins to spiral. And this is a very common scenario that we find. As the artery compresses the vein in this location, the vein has to adjust, and sometimes the adjustment is in a spiral that happens. What happens when the vein spirals? It's just like a balloon that you're twisting. The flow through that vein is not going to be as normal as a vein that's normal like here. So it creates a problem like we're seeing here. So once we perform the venogram, we use a special ultrasound that allows us to see the inside of the vein. And we will talk about that in a second, and I will show you some pictures as to how that looks. But once the decision is made that your vein is compressed, based on all the information that I gather, we place a stent. And what a stent is capable of doing is that it's going to provide support for that vein that is being narrowed or being compressed. So the image that I'm showing you right now demonstrates a normal venogram where the flow of blood is very uniform throughout. The point of compression had been previously here, where that vein had twisted, and you can now see how smooth the entire contrast is as the blood goes from your pelvis all the way to your belly button. This is the area where the vein was compressed, and now the stent has normalized that blood flow. It really is the most important thing, is to be able to get the blood flow the way that it's supposed to be. So in this case, this picture is demonstrating what the stent looks like. What this does is that it provides structure to the vein, allows the blood to flow properly without there being any compression or without there being any problems in terms of allowing the blood to get back towards your heart. This is what's going to make your leg not feel so bad. It's going to take care of the swelling. It's going to enhance your life. It's going to allow you to walk better. It's going to allow you to stand like you normally would have. If you have an active lifestyle, this is what's going to allow you to get back to that active lifestyle. This is going to make your legs feel better.